The jungle was quiet, a quiet that seemed to swallow sound, and even the buzzing of insects had ceased. The sun pressed down hard over the land, and every leaf seemed to wilt in silence. A man on horseback rode slowly along a game trail. He was returning home after visiting a neighboring village. Beside him, his old chestnut horse moved steadily, its soft footfalls muffled by the thick undergrowth. Every so often the horse would sniff the air, twitching its ears, as if listening for something beyond the rider's hearing. As they continued their journey, the man noticed that his companion seemed agitated. He turned to the horse. "What is it, boy?" he murmured, wondering if a snake or some other wild animal had caught their scent. Yet the horse showed no fear. Instead, it quickened its pace, moving deeper into the heart of the silent jungle. They soon reached a small clearing. In the middle of it stood a familiar watering hole, its surface glistening like a mirror. It was here that the horse usually rushed forward with joy, eager to quench his thirst after a long ride. But today, as the man urged his companion forward, expecting a display of unbridled enthusiasm, something unexpected happened. The horse stopped. It sniffed the air once more, took a hesitant step back from the water, and shook its head, refusing to drink. The man frowned, confused by his horse's sudden reluctance. Gently, he prodded the animal forward, trying to understand its strange behavior. But the horse remained motionless, ears forward, muscles tense, its eyes fixed on the water as if searching for an answer. Suddenly, without any warning, it turned its head and began to walk away from the water. The man hesitated, his mind struggling to comprehend what the horse was doing. He called out, unsure whether he should follow. Something in the horse's demeanor, however, despite its strangeness, felt deliberate, almost purposeful, and against his better judgment, he decided to follow. As he moved through the thick vines and quiet underbrush, the only sounds were the rustling of leaves under his horse's feet and the distant cawing of crows. The horse seemed to be leading him deeper and deeper into the silent jungle, away from the familiar sounds of the watering hole. Soon, birds scattered from nearby trees, startled by their intrusion into their hushed sanctuary. But no other animals stirred. The jungle, usually teeming with life, was holding its breath. After what felt like hours, although the man knew it must have been minutes, the horse paused. It snorted softly and moved again, this time faster, its steps sure and steady. The man followed, his heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Within a few minutes, they arrived at a clearing. The man gasped. In front of them lay a scene that seemed straight out of a nightmare. Fallen branches lay strewn across the ground, and thick vines had wrapped themselves around the trunks of trees, creating a suffocating canopy overhead. Collapsed foliage formed a dense carpet on the ground, muting the sunlight that struggled to penetrate the thick leaves. At the center of the clearing, barely breathing, was a large male panther, its magnificent golden fur matted with blood, one leg caught beneath a heavy splintered log. Its head was turned to one side, and the man could see that one of its eyes was wide open, staring vacantly into the distance. The other, however, flickered open, meeting the man's gaze with an intelligence that belied its wounded state. But what truly held the man's attention was the absence of fear in the panther's eyes. There was no terror or pain, only a strange sort of calmness. It was as if the animal had known its fate and accepted it. The man stared back, his mind struggling to make sense of what he was seeing. Why had a source brought him here? Was this a trap? Fear threatened to overwhelm him. But as he looked into the panther's eyes, he felt a strange sense of connection, as if the animal was communicating with him silently. Slowly, cautiously, the man dismounted, his movements gentle to avoid startling the animal. As he approached the panther, he could hear its shallow breaths, each one a testament to its struggle to stay alive. The sight of the creature, so majestic yet so vulnerable, stirred something deep within him. He circled the panther, trying to assess its condition and figure out what he could do to help. The horse remained close, standing patiently as if guarding the clearing. As the man examined the wound, he realized that the panther had likely been trapped for some time. The blood had already begun to congeal, making it difficult to move. Despite his initial fear, the man found himself compelled to help. Working carefully, he moved the log, using all his strength to lift it off the panther's leg. The animal winced slightly, but did not try to bite or scratch him. Finally, with a grunt of effort, he managed to slide the log off the injured limb. The man paused, wiping the sweat from his brow. The sight before him was both gruesome and heartbreaking. The panther's leg was badly broken, and the wound was deep and dirty. He knew that if he left the animal there, it wouldn't survive the night. Looking up, he saw that the horse was watching intently, its head cocked to one side. At that moment, he understood that his horse had brought him here not just by chance, but because it knew the panther needed help. With renewed determination, the man cleaned the wound as best he could and set the bone. The process was difficult, and the panther let out low growls, but it didn't resist. The man finished his work, tying a makeshift bandage around the leg. He looked up at the horse, his heart filled with gratitude. He had nothing else to offer the animal, but he hoped it would survive. Slowly, painfully, the panther pulled itself free of the branches and collapsed onto the ground. It couldn't walk, but it breathed easier now, its eyes flickering with what seemed like gratitude. The man stood there for a long moment, watching the panther. He knew he couldn't stay. Helping the animal had taken longer than he expected, and his own horse needed water. Besides, he knew that if he stayed any longer, the panther might turn aggressive due to its pain and fear. But as he turned to leave, he hesitated. Looking back at the panther, he saw that it was watching him, its eyes unwavering. He knew he couldn't just leave the animal there to die. An idea formed in his mind. He looked at the strong branches surrounding them and quickly went to work. Using his knife, he cut down several sturdy branches and with the help of his horse, built a stretcher from them. He then tied the panther's injured leg securely to the saddle. Gently, he coaxed the creature onto the stretcher and secured it in place. With the panther safely tied to the saddle, the man mounted his horse and they began the long journey back to the village. The horse moved steadily, its steps sure and confident, as if guiding the way. The man rode in silence, his thoughts focused on the task at hand. When they finally arrived at the village, the sight that greeted them was one of shock and disbelief. Villagers crowded around, their faces etched with wonder and confusion. They had never seen a panther, let alone one that was alive and being carried on the back of a horse. Over the next few days, the villagers took care of the panther, feeding it and cleaning its wounds. It didn't resist their touch, and it watched with those ancient eyes, trusting and calm. The man visited every day, bringing food and water. He couldn't explain the bond he felt with the animal, but it was there nonetheless. Slowly, the panther regained its strength. The man could see the change in its gait, the way it moved with more confidence each day. One morning, he came to the enclosure and saw that the panther was missing. He found the creature at the edge of the village, its magnificent form silhouetted against the rising sun. The panther turned, meeting the man's gaze. For a long moment, they locked eyes, and the man felt a profound sense of connection. Then, as if sensing the urgency of its mission, the panther turned and melted into the jungle, disappearing from sight. The man stood there watching, his heart heavy with a mixture of sadness and pride. He knew the panther had come back to say goodbye. The encounter left an indelible mark on the man and the villagers. They spoke of it in hushed tones, marveling at the bravery of the horse and the wisdom of the panther. Some said animals carried wisdom, lost to man, that the jungle spoke in ways we'd forgotten how to hear. That day, one horse listened and a life was saved, not by words, but by trust.